Well, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. This is Barbara, and I'm serving as your host today. And Brother Pete's here today with us, and he said he would help with the reading. And we just want to welcome all our family and friends of Yah that are here today, that are gathered by the phone or internet, and maybe you're listening to the recording. We just want to welcome everyone to go over to the website, lunarsabbathday.com. It's a great source of information about the Creator's Sabbath. There's articles and videos, and also you can scroll down to the bottom of the events page and see our times when we're meeting to worship, and we would love to fellowship with you. You're welcome to come and be with us. So today, our discussion about the original timekeeping system is, which calendar did Yeshua keep? Do you think he kept this calendar or a Saturday calendar? We're going to study about that today. And the answer is, he used the calendar of Israel, the one that he gave Israel. And in Psalms 19:1, the psalmist David recorded, "The heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork."
In Genesis 1:14 through 18, it's found that the Creator put his calendar in the heavens. One can read it recorded in the Scripture, as it states, quote, "And Elohim said, let the lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good."
Okay, so in examining Genesis 1:14, it is found that the lights were for seasons and appointed times, and those two words have very special meaning. The first word is oath in Hebrew, and it means a signal, as a flag, beacon, monument, omen, prodigy, evidence, etc. Mark, miracle, sign, token. In Oath and Strong's is H226. So notice that the first word is not only just a normal sign, but it's the beacon for something coming. The other word, moed, means seasons or appointed times in the Scripture. Strong's Concordance states that it is for a fixed time or season, an assembly or congregation. And that's Strong's 4150.
These two lights were set in the heavens to be used for beacons at the time of the appointed worship of the Creator. Many people are unaware that the very word moon itself means month. Looking it up in the dictionary, and also check it in Strong's Concordance, the Hebrew word Kodesh, or new moon, literally means month. That's Strong's 2320. It is mentioned many more times in the Scripture than Sabbath.
So it is so important that one understands that the Creator's calendar is a lunar solar calendar, and its months are beaconed by his set lights in the sky, as opposed to all the false calendars that are in place today. The false calendars only use one of the beacons in the sky, and that's the sun. The Creator's calendar uses the sun, moon, and stars. So prophecy, this is going to be in different sections, and this section is prophecy exposes Satan's evil plans.
It is absolutely monumental that one understands that the Creator's calendar uses the sun, moon, and stars for his timekeeping principles. It is recorded in Isaiah chapter 14, a very important passage that exposes Lucifer's attempt in the future to steal worship on a false calendar. Isaiah 14, beginning in verses 12 to 14, it is stated, quote, "How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the earth, which this weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Isaiah 14, 12 to 14.
The eternal law is the next section. So Lucifer knew that the Creator, Jehovah, had put his timepieces in the heavens to serve a very important role, to beacon his people as to his appointed times of worship. And Lucifer knew the only way to steal worship was by some other false means, such as a false religious system and a false calendar. And he knew that no man or he could ever tamper with the Creator's timepieces set in the heavens, because our Master in the heavens, Jehovah, does not change. For it is recorded in Malachi 3:6, "For I am Jehovah, I change not."
It is also recorded in Scripture that everyone who worships on Sabbaths and new moons in the new kingdom, which will be in the very near future, and the eternity to come. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. Isaiah 66:23.
So the Creator set his timepieces in the heavens as declared in the beginning in the book of Genesis. For eternity, they will serve the same role as they always have. Lucifer has caused man to stumble in the path of righteousness and from the Creator's commandments by false calendars and false religious systems. There is only one way into the kingdom of heaven. It is through Yeshua, Messiah, in keeping the commandments of our Father in heaven. One of those commandments is the fourth commandment, and it's very specific to the Sabbath. It is also important to know what calendar to use to find that Sabbath day. Whoa, I went too far. Okay.
It is recorded in Matthew 5:17 through 19, that the Messiah stated, quote, "Think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say to you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commandments, and shall teach men so shall he be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven." The Messiah kept the Father's Sabbath day, and he also kept the Creator's calendar. It's important to follow the Messiah today and follow the Creator's calendar and not Lucifer's false calendar.
So Here's a verse most everybody knows, Daniel 7:25, where Daniel warns that Lucifer, through other means, would attempt to change the calendar of the Creator, and he shall think to change times and laws. This is important to understand because in Revelation 13:3, it is found that there will be those that wander after the beast. Is it possible that to wander after something may mean that they wander after a false calendar? Will the majority of people be observing a false calendar that is put in place by the beast system? Here is some history of the Creator's calendar we're going to go through.
By reviewing the history of the Creator's calendar, one can appreciate the importance of the true calendar of the Creator, Yahweh. In exploring the Creator's calendar and its history, it is discovered that the new moon days, Sabbath days, and the appointed feast of the Creator are linked together. The Creator set his appointed feast, new moons, and Sabbath days in a calendar format that does not change. This will be demonstrated by the immense amount of scripture concerning the calendar that is collected in the Bible today, beginning at creation and moving forward to eternity.
So, in examining the history of the Creator's calendar, one must keep in mind that the Sabbaths, new moons, and appointed feasts walk hand in hand. Also, upon closer observation of the Scriptures, it can be demonstrated that by history and by the Scriptures that the calendar of our Creator is a lunar solar calendar. And our example of history is the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 5, page 410. Quote, Sabbath and New Moon, Rosh Hodesh, both periodically recurring in the course of the year. The new moon is still, and the Sabbath originally was, dependent upon the lunar cycle, unquote.
As with all recorded history, everything has a beginning. The Creator's calendar has its beginning in Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 18. Now in reading Genesis 2, 1 through 3, it is found that the very next act that Elohim did was rested on the Sabbath day. It is recorded, quote, Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, end quote, because that in it he had rested from all the work which Elohim created and made, end quote.
So, okay, a biblical month in Scripture. I got something in front of my screen. Beginning of every month starts with New Moon Day, beginning on the 1st, followed by 4 complete sets of weeks, which end on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th days of the month. And the month will be explained more fully upon reading further. But, okay, I hope most of you can see this that are here in the fellowship call today and see what's up on the screen. There's a Creator's calendar. It shows New Moon Day as day 1, and all the Sabbaths as 8, 15, 22, 29. There's 6 working days and a Sabbath, 6 working days and a Sabbath. And on the other side of the screen, it shows the phases of the moon, which are a week apart. And they're the quarter phase, the full moon phase, the last quarter, and the dark moon phase. So these are the testimony in the heavens, that calendar that Satan cannot touch. It's there. He's trying to cover it up with clouds and harp and everything else up there. But the Father's calendar is there, and no one can touch it.
From the beginning of creation down to the time of Abraham, the patriarchs kept the Creator's calendar. Note that before there ever was a Hebrew nation, Abraham kept the Creator's commandments, statutes, and judgments. Yahweh describes Abraham as keeping his requirements in Genesis 26:5. That is, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, end quote. Abraham is a rare example in Scripture, for before there was a difference between Hebrew and Gentile, Abraham honored the Creator's appointed times and kept his commandments. Today, the Creator should continue to be honored and his appointed times kept.
So, I have something on my screen. So it should be noted that in Mark 2:27 that the Messiah stated, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Just as Abraham did in the past, so should everyone be honoring the Creator, whether one is Hebrew or Gentile. Everyone should rejoice and worship before him on his appointed days and times. Messiah keeping the Sabbath is the next section.
It must be noted that excuse me, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brother Pete. I was just going to say, I didn't hear you for a minute, so I was going to say there's a calendar up there, but please go ahead and read.
It must be noted that the Messiah, Yeshua, kept his Father's commandments. He kept his appointed times, his new moons, and his Sabbaths. Nowhere is it found in the recorded books, the Bible, or history that Messiah ever kept a different timekeeping principle other than the Creator's calendar. The Creator's calendar was never a contract between the Messiah and the Pharisees or Sadducees. Although many issues arose that caused conflict, the Creator's calendar was never one of them. At the time of Yeshua, the 8th-day Julian calendar was kept by the Romans, but not by the Jews. For a further study, search for information about the 8th-day Julian calendar that started in 45 BC.
So up on the screen here, you'll see an 8-day Roman calendar, and it's the letters A through H, and that's what was kept during the time of Yeshua. And as was just stated by Brother Pete, there was no conflict between Israel and Rome about the calendar because Israel was keeping the calendar that was given to them. And Rome even had 8 days a week. So Yeshua was keeping the calendar in the heavens. Let's see. So let me move. Examine the scripture concerning the Messiah and note with extreme detail that he kept the Sabbath and appointed feasts. But what is missed by many is the fact that the crucifixion and the resurrection details out about the Creator's calendar. It is explained in Leviticus 23 that Passover was always on the 14th day of the first new moon. It is well known that the Messiah's crucifixion occurred on Passover on the 6th day of the week, followed by the 7th-day Sabbath on the 15th. And here's a calendar here showing Passover as the 14th, which is preparation day, and the 15th is the Sabbath. The 16th, he was resurrected, and so the 15th is the Sabbath, and so therefore it shows the other days would be 8, the other Sabbaths would be 8, 15, 22, and 29. So the Passover was on the 14th day of the week, the day before the Sabbath, and this is recorded in Mark 15:42, John 19:31, Leviticus 23:6, 7, 11, 15, and John 19, 42.
The resurrection of the Messiah was early in the morning on the first day of the week. This is recorded in Matthew 28:1, Mark 16:1 and 2, Luke 24:1, and John 20:1. This reveals that Messiah was resurrected on the 16th of the first new moon, or the first day of the week. This corresponds to the wave sheaf offering, or first fruits, being on the 16th, as recorded in Leviticus 23:11. Paul called Messiah the first fruits of them that sleep, and stated that he was buried and rose on the third day. This is recorded in 1 Corinthians 15:3 and 4 and 20 through 23. On the walk to Emmaus, the two disciples told Messiah that it was the third day since the crucifixion. This is found in Luke 24:17 through 21.
So the Crucifixion week establishes that the weekly seventh-day Sabbath on Aviv 15th was the Sabbath. In effect, this makes the 8th, 22nd, and 29th days of the month Sabbaths as well. And what is so important to take away from this is that the Messiah fulfilled the Creator's calendar requirements for the Passover. He was the Passover lamb on the 14th day. He rested in the grave during the Sabbath on the 15th. He was the first fruits of those raised from the dead on the wave sheaf offering on the 16th.
Messiah followed the Creator's calendar in his day, just as everyone should follow the Creator's calendar today. The Messiah does not change. In Hebrews 13:8, he is described as Yeshua the Messiah, the same yesterday and today and forever. The Creator placed his calendar in the heavens, where no man can change it. His calendar is forever, from the beginning of Genesis to Revelation and throughout eternity.
Okay, Romanism. Now we're going to talk about Rome. Let's see if I can read that. But this is the final section in the history of the Creator's calendar. It is found in the history books that through Romanism, many things were changed. The calendar of the Roman Republic was based on the lunar phases of the moon. It was. And it was replaced by the Julian solar-only calendar introduced by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. So Julius Caesar appointed Sadducee, an Alexandrian astronomer, to design and reform the Roman Republic calendar. They decided to abandon the lunar calendar altogether. The new Julian calendar ignored new moon days and instituted a calendar that was solar only, with the days of the week designated by the letters A through H. So there is a picture of the Roman calendar here again, A through H. And so they did away with new moon days on their calendar and only went by the days of the sun without the moon included.
In 321 AD, Constantine changed the Julian calendar from an 8-day week to a 7-day planetary week. The Roman Gregorian calendar that is in place today is a modification of the Julian calendar. In October 1582, it was corrected by many days and promoted by Pope Gregory the 13th. The Gregorian calendar of today is a deceptive solar-only calendar. Although the weeks are 7 days long, it is nowhere near the true calendar. The Creator's calendar in Scripture is always calculated by the sun, moon, and stars.
So in continuing on through this section, one cannot help but ask, how did things get so far out of place? And when searching the history books and scripture, it is a consistent reminder that Rome was the guilty one for changing the times and laws. Remember Daniel 7:25, where it reveals that Lucifer would attempt to change times and laws. It states, quote, and think to change times and laws, unquote. This he did through Romanism.
The facts are very clear that it was due to Constantine's Sunday law issued in 321 that the Jews were first forced to completely abandon the Creator's calendar. Constantine's planetary calendar placed Sunday as an exalted day of worship. Man was forced to worship on a pagan calendar.
So after the Edict of Nicaea, apostolic Christians continued to worship by the lunar solar calendar, and the Council of Laodicea was convened approximately 40 years later to enforce the acceptance of the Lord's Day in place of the lunar Sabbath. In order, therefore, to accomplishment of her original purpose, it now became necessary for the church to secure legislation extinguishing all exception and prohibiting the observance of the Sabbath so as to quench that powerful protest against worship on Sunday. And this is all a quote I'm reading here. And now the truly divine command of Constantine and the Council of Nicaea that nothing would be held in common with the Jews was made the basis and authority for legislation utterly to crush out the observance of the Sabbath of the Lord and to establish the observance of Sunday only in its stead. And that is a quote, A.T. Jones, The Two Republics, and I'll leave that link below also.
There is another important note that should be made about the planetary week that is in place today. Constantine changed the order of the planetary week to help the Jews adopt the Roman new weekly cycle. At the same time, he elevated Sunday to the worship day. Saturn Day was the first day of the planetary week. Saturday was moved to the seventh day of the week, and Sunday was placed at the first day of the week. Sunday, the venerable day of the sun, was exalted as the day of worship by Constantine.
So Saturday, or Dies Saturni, the day of Saturn, was the very first day of the week. There's a picture up here, and you can see that with the Saturn with the sickle. And as the god of agriculture, he can be seen in his preeminent position of importance, holding a sickle. The symbol is a sickle. And next, on the second day of the pagan planetary week, is seen the sun god, with the rays of light emanating from his head. Sunday was originally the second day of the planetary week and was known as Dies Solis. The third day of the week was Dies Lunae, or Day of the Moon, Monday. The moon goddess is shown wearing the horned crescent moon as a diadem on her head. The rest of the gods follow in order: Dies Martes, Day of Mars; Dies Mercury, Day of Mercury; Dies Jovis, Day of Jupiter; Dies Veneris, Day of Venus, and the seventh day of the week. And this is all actually from one of our church's publications, Nashville, from Tennessee Southern Publishing Association. And I'll leave that link below also.
In searching textbooks and history, many examples are given of this change and how it was done and who it was done by. One example is the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 5, page 410, quote, Sabbath and New Moon, that is Rosh Hodesh, both periodically reoccur in the course of the new year. The new moon is still, and the Sabbath originally was, dependent upon the lunar cycle, end quote. This is of further proof that Romanism did attempt to change the Sabbath, emphasis added.
So, who do you worship? Every individual must search out the Scripture to see what is true and what is false. The Creator's calendar is true in a world that is dominated by false calendar systems. One must stand out and be a separate people, holy and true to the Creator. So it's up to each and every one to make a decision. Will truth be followed or will falsehood be followed? All should do as it is written in Acts 5:29. We ought to obey Elohim rather than man. Each person will have to give an account to the Creator one day for the decisions that were made. It is up to each and every one to follow Him and keep His commandments. This includes keeping His calendar and His appointed times of worship. So who do you worship and who do you serve? As Joshua said in Joshua 24:15, as for me and my house, we will serve Jehovah. So I'm going to close the recording, and I hope you look for links below if you're looking at this YouTube. And for everyone that's here, please stay around for a discussion. And I want to thank Brother Pete for reading, too.